This lesson is on reasonable domain and range. The first thing that we need to look at is what domain and range are. And to look at that, I'm going to give you ordered pairs, negative 2.5, 0, 2.5, 4, 6.5, and 5, 2.5. Now all of these ordered pairs are together called a relation. Now with this relation I'm going to create a mapping. A mapping is two ovals that have our data in those inside of them. So I have negative 2, I have 0, I have 4, and I have 5. That is the x values of my mapping, or we also know them to be called inputs. And today we're introducing the word domain. These are the domains. The domains are the input or all of the x values. And they're paired with 0.5, 2.5, 6.5, and 2.5 again, but I already have 2.5, so I'm going to leave it there. And what I'm doing is showing my relation of my mapping. There's negative 2 to 0.5, 0 to 2.5, 4 to 6.5, and 5 to 2.5. All of these are my y values or my outputs. And now the new word is range. So if I'm looking for the range, that means I'm looking for the y values. Okay? All right, very good. So now we are going to look at something called function notation. And function notation looks like this. F parentheses x equals 250x. So while we have still a rate of change times my x value, this is read as f of x equals 250x. F of x is the same thing as what we're used to where the y is in slope-intercept form, but we're going to leave it as this f of x, function notation. If I gave you this function notation and said, what is f of the function of f(x) is 5. That means substitute 5 in for x. 250 times 5. So f of 5 is 250 times 5, which is 1250. Just substituting. All right, now looking at reasonable domains and ranges, we're going to look at word problems. A charter boat travels a maximum rate of 25 miles per hour. The function d of x is 25x in miles, d for miles, or d meaning distance, that the boat travels in x hours. Okay, charter boat can travel a maximum distance of 75 miles. Okay, getting our key information there. Now I'm looking for a reasonable domain and range. Domain is going to be my x values. So my x values relate to whatever is being multiplied by this coefficient. X, we said here, it already gave it to us, is hours. So the least number of hours a boat can travel is 0. and the max number of hours the boat can travel. Well, if it's at a rate of 25 miles per hour, but they can't go further than 75, 75 divided by 25 is 3. So the max hours they can go is 3. Now you look at the range. Actually, before we do that, let's write our inequality. Okay, we have to have 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. 0, x is going to be greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 3. Now, if I've talked about hours already, my range is what's coming out of it. The D for distance or miles. So the minimum number of miles that they can travel is 0. If they go for 0 hours, they're going 0 miles. If they're going the max number of miles, it told us a maximum distance of 75. So 0 is less than or equal to d of x, which is less than or equal to 75. All right, now 3 quarts of paint to paint the trim. 1 quart of paint covers 100 square foot. Here's the function. A representing the area in square feet, and Q is quarts. So the domain, what is being multiplied by the coefficient? It's Q. So the least or the minimum number of quarts they paint with is 0. The maximum number of quarts they can paint with is 3. I can't paint more than 3 quarts. I don't have more than that. So writing out your inequality, 0 has to be less than or equal to Q, which has to be less than or equal to 3. And now I look at the range. If I've dealt with quarts, the output, or what I can look at, is the area. So the minimum area, if I paint with 0 quarts, how much trim do I paint? 0 feet squared or square feet. And the max area, well, if 1 quart is 100 times 3 quarts, I have potential of 300 square foot of area that I could paint with that 3 quarts. So 0 is less than or equal to A of Q, which is less than or equal to that's 300. Okay, now we're going to move on to the other word problems. A car can travel 32 miles for each gallon. The function d of x is 32x, represents the distance. So distance is the output or the y value, and it's represented in miles. That the car can travel with x gallons. X is being multiplied by the coefficient. That is the domain. The domain is gallons. What is the minimum number of gallons you can use? Well, obviously 0. I can't use negative gallons of gas. It has to be reasonable. And the max number of gallons used, well, let's see. It tells us the car's fuel tank holds 17 gallons. I can't use more than 17 gallons. And write your inequality. 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 17. And then the range. We've already done gallons. The other thing that we're looking at is distance in miles. So the minimum number of miles that I can travel is 0. I can't travel negative miles. If I use 0 gallons of gas, then I'm going 0 miles. The max number of miles that I can travel, okay, if it's 32 miles per gallon or each, that's multiply. So 32 times the 17-gallon tank is 544. So you could potentially travel 544 miles. My range inequality, 0 is less than or equal to d of x, which is less than or equal to 544. The distance is going to be more than 0, but less than 544. High school is having a pancake breakfast. They have 3 packages of pancake mix. So I'm going to look at that 3 packages. Each means multiply, feeds 90 people. So I'm looking at packages and number of people. The function n of p equals 90p represents the number of people, tells us what the number of people is. That is going to be our y value. That p, which is being multiplied by the coefficient, that's our x. So our domain goes with this, goes in that x spot, and it is p for packages. So the minimum number of packages they could make is 0. The maximum number of packages is 3. It told me how many I have more. I can't make more than 3. I don't have more than 3. Can't make less than 0 packages. Okay, so then 0 is less than or equal to p, which is less than or equal to 3. And then range. Okay, you looked at p for packages. That was our domain. The other variable is looking at the n of p, which is people. The minimum number of people you feed. If you make 0 packages, it's 0 people that are fed. The maximum number of people fed. Well, if I have 3 packages and each feeds 90 people, 3 times 90 is 270. So the maximum number of people I can feed is 270. And the inequality is 0 is less than or equal to n of p, which is less than or equal to 270. And the last one. There are 98 international units, or we call them IUs, of vitamin D in a cup of milk. So vitamin D is measured in IUs instead of in ounces, or it's a unit of measurement. That's how many IUs are in 1 cup of milk. The function V of C equals 98C represents amount of vitamin D. Okay, that's that vitamin D in C cups of milk. The domain is the C. C is next to the coefficient. So the domain, the minimum number of cups that you could have of milk is 0. The maximum number of cups you can have is, it tells us 16 cup jug, so 16. 0 is less than or equal to C, which is less than or equal to 16. And then the range. I've looked at cups. I'm left with the minimum number of IUs, international units. If I have 0 cups of milk, then I have 0 IUs. If I have my maximum number of IUs, I can't have more than 16 cups. So 16 in this place of C, so 16 times the 98 in each is 1,000.